Hi, vinyl community. It's Bill here again. It's been a little while. I've been on holiday to the States, and uh, there's some of that experience coming up later in this video. And I think I've got lots of material for future videos as well. So stay tuned. And today I'm going to be doing thread that I saw an entry by Dale of Gatefold 33, and I think he said that this 20 connected records thread was a follow-up to something that Richard McCook had done, but I've seen others from maybe a year or more back that give a shout out to Dillon at Noble Records. So I think he was also instrumental in this thread, or maybe keeping it going, or maybe Richard kept it going. But anyway, it's quite a challenge. But I'm going to start with, I think, the same album that Dale did. I'm going with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And yeah, plenty of opportunity for links here, no less to something that says welcome the Rolling Stones. But yeah, let's see about that. But I don't know if you can see up on this corner here, I'm pointing to a gentleman by the name of Stuart Sutcliffe. And all you Beatles fans will know that Stuart Sutcliffe, I think he sold a painting that enabled him to buy a bass guitar, and that made him a Beatle. And he went to Hamburg, and this was the early days before Ringo Starr. And the early Beatles, they played on this record featuring Tony Sheridan. Great set this. This is a gatefold, so we've got the set list there, but there were lots of examples of their early song repertoire, and I must confess that although this is the early Beatles, so it includes Paul, John, and George, because it was too early for Ringo. I think this is a photo of Pete Best, but I don't think Stuart Sutcliffe was a member playing bass on this record. But yeah, early Beatles, so still a connection to Sgt. Pepper's. And one of the tracks on this is What I Say, written by Ray Charles, and it's performed by Tony Sheridan and the Beat Brothers, aka the Beatles. So, as I said, written by Ray Charles. So Ray Charles is the next album I'm going to show. This is a great double album, and there's a link back to the Beatles here as well, because the wonderful Ray Charles does a version of, or does versions of, both Yesterday and Eleanor Rigby. But yes, What I Say is track 6 on side 2 of this 25 years in, or 25th anniversary in show business. Salute to Ray Charles. So Ray Charles wrote What I Say. It was, of course, covered by this gentleman here, Jerry Lee Lewis, and he had a big hit with What I Say as well. On this album, the very first track, side 1, is the Lewis Boogie, and the lyrics to that song mention Elvis Presley, boy from Memphis. Now, I was lucky to visit Memphis as part of my trip, and I also went to Graceland. And this is Elvis's Son collection. Although it's released on RCA, the songs on here are all recorded at Sun Studios, as was this next album. This is the $1 Million Quartet, which was Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Carol Perkins, and Jerry Lee Lewis, and it was recorded at Sun Studios in 1956. And $1 Million Quartet. The reason I have my own sort of handmade sleeve for this, I have the CD version of this as well, but on my wall of my staircase, I have framed the cover for that particular vinyl version of the $1 Million Quartet, because my daughter gave me a coin, sort of, what do you call it? Celebratory coin, an anniversary coin. And yeah, December 56 was quite important to me as well. So I'll leave you to guess. But that's why it's on the wall. Now, some of these records are CDs, and there's even a DVD. But yeah, Johnny Cash was one of the $1 Million Quartet. And on this American 3, Solitary Man, great collection, great set of recordings with Rick Rubin as producer, a man who got awards for just putting Johnny Cash in a room with an acoustic guitar and his beautiful voice, his unmistakable voice, maybe a bit rough around the edges by the time he got to this recording, but yeah, wonderful stuff. And one of the tracks on here is One, which was, of course, written by U2. And yeah, this is where there's another connection to the Sun Studios, because Rattle and Hum, the song When Love Comes to Town, was recorded at Sun Studios in Memphis, and the drum kit on a photograph that I'm about to show was the actual one that was used in the recording. So that's U2 recording, not everything that's on this album, but certainly the When Love Comes to Town track with B.B. King. So B.B. King was that wonderful blues guitarist, distinctive sound. You recognize B.B. King anytime you hear a record featuring him. He was a guitarist on When Love Comes to Town, and showing a best of album. And on this one, on track 4, side 1, we have Caledonia. And this was a surprise to me. B.B. King, unsurprisingly, plays guitar and is the vocalist, but a certain Bobby Keys is the tenor sax player on that track. And Bobby Keys also plays sax on Brown Sugar, which was recorded at Muscle Shoals, a recording studio in Sheffield, Muscle Shoals, Alabama. And that was also one of the destinations on my holiday. So made a special trip, took a car, drove down from Memphis to Muscle Shoals, checked in at the hotel, and then headed over to the recording studio on Jackson Highway. And we had a 2:30 p.m. studio tour, and at about 10, no, 20 to 3, there was this this man came in with a lady a similar age, let's say, and I thought these people are a bit late, you know, it's a bit rude to be late for the tour, but no, these were guests of honor, and a certain David Hood, who was one of the Muscle Shoals rhythm section, also known as the Swampers. So yeah, I show a couple of photographs of David Hood. And of course, David Hood didn't play on this record. I'm not sure if he was there at the recording or not, but he did play on this record that was also recorded at Muscle Shoals. 3 tracks from Sticky Fingers were recorded at Muscle Shoals. There was Brown Sugar, Wild Horses was written by Keith Richards while he was sitting on the toilet at Muscle Shoals. I won't show a photograph of the toilet. And I think You Gotta Move was the third track. I'll also show the invoice for the recording of, I think, Wild Horses at Muscle Shoals. So I'll show that. But David Hood, who was the bass player of the Swampers, has significant contributions to a number of tracks on this album by Paul Simon. I think Paul Simon's quote when he arrived at Muscle Shoals was, "You gotta be joking. You know, the ceiling's about hanging down. You know, this is not the sort of recording studio that I'm used to." But David Hood was the bass part, the electric bass part on Kodachrome. I think he also played on Take Me to the Mardi Gras and a couple of other tracks on here. David Hood, who I had the pleasure of chatting to. He was telling me about recording Sailing. He gave me a slight vocal rendition of Sailing, just in case I didn't know that particular track. But he also was speaking to me about recording with Primal Scream and also the Waterboys, since I was Scottish. So David Hood and fellow swamper Richard Hawkins, who played drums, they recorded on Aretha's I Never Loved Man the Way I Love You. I think they only recorded one track in Muscle Shoals, but it was at the Fame studio, not at the Muscle Shoals recording studio. I think it's also shown in the biopic that Aretha wasn't quite comfortable recording all the, quite a distance from New York, but she liked the sound, and she got arranged with Jerry Wexler, I think, to get the Muscle Shoals rhythm section to go to New York to record some of the tracks that are on this. Now, one of the tracks that's on here is Respect, and Respect was written by Otis Redding, Otis Blue, and this is a great soul record, some really nice stuff in here. He does, Smokey Robinson's My Girl. There's Wonderful World, which is written by Sam Cooke, Lou Adler, and Herb Alpert. But on this record, we have Satisfaction, written by Messrs. Jagger and Richard. And if you check out Wikipedia for which album Satisfaction appears on, they say Out of Your Heads. But This is where UK and US pressings differ. And I've got a UK pressing, and track listing shows that, yeah, Satisfaction's not on here at all. So got that slightly wrong, but it does have a track called Good Times, which was written by Sam Cooke. So that enables me to show this wonderful compilation, Sam Cooke, the Man and His Music. So it starts off with the gospel song, Touch the Hem of His Garment, and that's Heaven to Me. Not sure if that's a gospel track or not, but yeah, this album is full of classics such as Only 16, Wonderful World, Cupid, and Everybody Loves to Cha Cha Cha, and Good Times, which was on the British version or UK version of Out of Our Heads. And this is that track also appears in the original form, not the cover, by Sam Cooke on this, but also Twisting the Night Away. And I think you might know another gentleman who recorded Twisting the Night Away. There's a really nice packaging of Sing It Again, Rod. I think it was 73 or something that this compilation came out. The whiskey tumbler, some nice photos of Rod the Mod. And on this album, you've also got Street Fighting Man, really good rendition of that Jagger and Richards composition. But yeah, Twisting the Night Away. And then I'm going to go back to the connection with Muscle Shoals. And yeah, this really great solo album by Rod and Atlantic Crossing. Really like the sort of graphics on this, and I'm not sure who did that, but I really like it with sort of Houses of Parliament, and I think there's a Scottish flag on top of the Houses of Parliament. And then I think that's the Chrysler building in New York, and Rod striding across the Atlantic. But yeah, Sailing, the big Sutherland Brothers and Quiver song was, Rod's version was recorded at Muscle Shoals. And then, did I mention that Wild Horses had been recorded at Muscle Shoals together with Brown Sugar? So this is maybe where Dale will say, I thought he couldn't resist it. But we're speaking about the Rolling Stones. Brown Sugar's on this sort of theatre show, let's call it, live recording by Martin Scorsese. And the Jack White link is that Jack plays on Loving Cup, acoustic guitar with Mick Jagger on acoustic guitar. And I don't know if you've ever seen this movie documentary, but Jack White looks like the cat that's got the cream. I don't think he can believe that he's playing on stage with the Rolling Stones. And he's just got a grin bigger than the Cheshire Cat. And it's just a lovely performance. So that's the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones have done various live albums. This one is Stripped. And on Stripped, we get Like a Rolling Stone, which was written by a certain Mr. Bob Dylan. And Mr. Bob Dylan also recorded at Muscle Shoals. I think he recorded got to serve somebody. Don't know if there was other tracks that were recorded at Muscle Shoals. And of course, that takes us all the way back to Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And up here we have Mr. Bob Dillon. So I'm not sure if you were keeping count there. I think that's 20 different records, a couple of CDs and a DVD in there. And I think it's 17 other vinyl albums. So I hope you enjoyed that. As I say, I've got other things in the pipeline based on my travels. I started off in New Orleans, then so enjoyed lots of really good jazz, including buskers in the street. And then I got my wife was with me. So then we got on a boat, a paddle steamer that took us up the river Mississippi all the way to Memphis. Not the Hoopoes all the way from Memphis, but all the way to Memphis. And then we had a few days in Memphis, picked up a car, went to Muscle Shoals, and then we drove to Nashville. So there'll be a few videos featuring photographs and some of the music associated with those cities. So hope you're keeping well. Bye just now, and I'll be back before too long with another video. Hope everybody in vinyl community land is keeping well.